Hockey Podcast, a trusted coaching resource. I'll be answering your questions, share best practices, and find out what's new in the hockey world. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the community. All right. Thanks for watching a Hyland Hockey video here. And today I'm going to cover a topic or a question that I get a lot through either in my USAH hockey classes or the teams I coach or just being at the rink. And that is NCAA Ice Hockey. How to get recruited, how to get scholarships. You know, scholarships is actually what prompted this video, because I get this question a lot. And when I talk to people, there's almost an aha moment where they just had no idea, and there's so much misinformation out there. So this is just a high-level video to try to clear up some of the information, and then give you guys that value add so that when parents come to you, you can at least speak to it at a high level. Okay? So here we go. Okay. Right now there are 61 NCAA Division I teams. Arizona State, this is their first year. Penn State had just joined, so there are 61 Division I teams. So let's do some math. Let's figure out how many players make these teams. All right, so let's assume there's a roster of 25 players. We'll take that 25 and multiply that by 61 teams. And that comes to 1,525 players total that play at that level. So then what we want to do next is take out the years of eligibility, which is 4. So divide that 1,525 by 4, and it comes to 381 players each year make a Division I team. Now we're not talking scholarships, just make a team. All right. So I'm on the East Coast in the United States. I'm a product of NCAA hockey. So being an American, I'm going to mainly focus on Americans here. So let's figure out how many Americans make an NCAA program. And 40% are Americans. So we'll take that 381 and take out 40%, and it comes to 152 players, American players, make a Division I team each year. Again, not talking scholarships. Now, that's pretty low, and I would assume your youth organizations have more than 150 players in them. All right, so that's pretty low. And if you want to make it even lower, take that 152 and compare it back to 61 teams, and it's 2.5 Americans make a team each year. That's so low. So that's the number right there. And we'll talk about where do you have to play. You know, if you're a top player and you're in that 152, where do you have to play to be recruited? Before we do that, let's talk NCAA Division II and Division III. There is no Division II championship, even though there are D2 teams. So they play at the Division III level. Now there are 80 teams. Next year there will be another one, so it'll be 81. So we'll do the same math. 25 players a roster, 4 years of eligibility, 40% American, and that number comes out to 200 Americans make a Division III team each year. So it's not much better. Okay, so that's so we know we've got 152 make a Division I, and 200 players make Division III. All right, let's talk about the elusive scholarship. And you know, again, this is high level. I can do another video that digs down deeper, but basically there are 18 scholarships per program, right? So there's 25 players. So if you have 18, that doesn't cover everybody. Now there are some leagues like the Ivy Leagues that don't give scholarships. There are some leagues like the Atlantic that gives 12. You know, there are teams in the Atlantic that give 12 scholarships as the max. There are teams in the Atlantic that don't give any scholarships. Okay, so it really depends on the program, depends on the league. Now, Division III does not give scholarships. They can get a little bit more creative with financial aid, but it's only at the Division I level. All right, so what happens though, if you have 18 per program, but you have 25 players, you are allowed to split them up. You can give partial scholarships. So again, I don't want to name the team because I don't want to be. I don't know if it's a negative or not, but I'm new to this. So there's a team in the Atlantic Division that does not give full scholarships. There's not a single player on his team the head coach told me he's not a single player that has a full ride. And it's funny because what happens is, kids talk, they're at getting a couple sodas, and one kid says, "Oh, I got a full ride," and one of the better players is like, "Wait a second, I only got 75%." And he deals with that all the time. But that's his policy. So if you make his team, the idea here is that you're an asset, you're valuable, so everybody gets something. Okay, and that's important to know. So 18 is the max. Some leagues and teams only give 12. Some leagues don't give any. Some teams don't give any. All right, and you can break these up to cover everybody. So again, it's not a lot of money out there. And so if you're in a 152 for Division I, and now you know that a full scholarship is pretty hard to get because some teams don't do it. So what are we chasing about? So what's the actual point with some of the parents that are pushing for this money? And that's academics. There's way more money out there if you've got good grades. And if you have good grades, then that gives you more opportunity because you'll get accepted to more schools. And that's really the idea. So, and I can tell you, it's a myth. It's a myth that if you're a top player, you don't have to go to class. And I know that one firsthand. You have to go to class. So we really want to make sure that when we're talking scholarships in NCAA, we have to talk about grades. Academics, these are colleges and universities. So that's really the key point. So let's talk about why there aren't that many NCAA programs. So there's something called Title IX, and I'm not an expert, so I'll give you some basic information here. But Title IX says that if you have a men's program, you have to have a comparable women's program. Now, it's not a dollar for dollar. There are percentages, and it gets a little confusing because you can have a women's program but not a men's program. But basically, if you have a men's hockey team, you need to have a women's hockey team, and that gets expensive. Now, you also need to have a rink on campus or near campus, and it needs to be first class, especially now if you're going to add a program. Now, I played at Elmira College. Our rink was about 10 minutes off of campus. You could not get away with that now. You really need to have a rink on campus. And if you start a program and your rink's far away, obviously there's a little bit of grace period there, but you need to have that. But also, if you have a varsity program for men and women, you're probably going to have a JV program for men and women. And this gets expensive. So you're on the ice Monday through Friday for 2 hours each program for practice, and you play games on weekends. You're traveling in charter buses, and that ice time alone is really expensive. So some schools want these NCAA hockey programs, but just can't afford it. Unless you've got Terry Pagula who can, invest money and then you pay your scholarships through interest on the money invested each year, that's far and few between. Okay. Now, one difference between Division I and Division III is what's called as the letter of intent, and that's only for Division I. So if you commit to a school, you sign a letter of intent, and then technically the other coaches are supposed to stop recruiting you. Now, they don't have that at Division III, so what happens is some of these schools, especially the state schools, over-recruit. They just don't know how many players are going to show up until they're actually on campus, and typically you're on campus for a month before you even start captain's practices. So they have to hedge their bets and bring in extra players, because they don't know, a player can say, yeah, I'm coming, but at the last minute go to another school, and that happens all the time. Now, there are programs that don't over-recruit. You really need to do your homework on this, but I've seen it firsthand, and I'll give you a story here towards the end. So let's talk about recruiting, all right? So if you're in this 152 or 200 for Division III, where do you have to play to be seen, to be recruited, okay? Now, I'm going to stop 1 second here. Now, there are, for these NCAA programs, there is prep school, where you can, and that's really good for hockey and your grades, and you can do a PG, a post-grad, which is grade 13, basically. You can do that, and you can walk on to schools where you maybe a certain college and university has the major you want, but they also have a hockey team. One of my friends did walk on to a Division I team. It does happen, okay? But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about junior hockey because I'm a product of it. I played junior hockey, and that was my path to NCAA. All right, so junior hockey. Now, there are two leagues that really, if you can make one of these two leagues, you will play NCAA. They're very competitive. One is the USHL, the United States Hockey League, and the other one is the NAHL, which is the North American. You do not have to pay for these leagues. Okay, so in these, again, these these teams are not easy to make, especially the USHL. So for junior programs, everybody is junior A. The difference is the tiering. So it's tiering 1, tier 2, and tier 3. USHL is the only tier 1. That is the Premier League. The NAHL is tier 2. That is a Premier League. And then there are tier 3 junior A programs. But if you can make one of those top two, the USHL and NA, you will make an NCAA program. Okay. Now, I don't want my comment section to get blown up here because there are tier 3 programs. The Junior Flyers move players to NCAA all the time. So there are programs that do move kids to NCAA that are not in those top two. But there are a lot of tier 3 programs, and you really, really have to do your homework. And I'll tell you a quick story. So I was mentoring a player, and he had committed to go to Syracuse for school. And he was going to play on their ACHA program. Now, ACHA is formerly known as club, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But he got a contract sent to him in the mail from a junior A team. He's really excited. He's questioning. He's supposed to be in Syracuse in a month. Do I go? I mean, maybe I can, if I play the junior A, maybe I can go, make an NCAA program. So I kind of walked him through. I said, okay, let's talk about this. So, did you go to this junior A team's camp? And the answer is no. Okay. Did you talk to the head coach? And the answer was no. And I said, okay, send me the contract. So I got the contract, and the first thing I looked at was the money. And, every couple of weeks, you need to send in $1,000. You add it all up, it was $13,500. And this was in the Carolinas. They don't want to name the team. I'm not even sure they're still around. So the second thing I did after I figured out the money was I went to the roster. How many kids are on the roster? And they had 30 kids on the roster, but then they had another 15 that had either been on the roster and cut, traded, whatever. And then I went to the coach. And who's the coach? And the coach was the owner. He was also the general manager. It's a money grab. Okay? So you've got these junior A tier 3 programs that do send kids on to college, but then you've got these other ones that are really just doing it from a business standpoint. And for whatever reason, there are a ton of junior programs on the East Coast. All right, so it's really important to make sure that you do your homework on this. Okay. Now, back to recruiting real quick here. What even makes it harder is that where do you live? Minnesota schools want Minnesota players. Michigan schools want Michigan players. BCBU, they want New England players. So where you live also plays. And you have to be proactive if you're going to promote yourself, because coaches, there's too many programs, there's too many teams, they're not going to find you. You really have to, go to the website, fill out the player profile, call the coach, find out if he's going to be in an area where you're playing a tournament. You really got to reach out to him. Now, when I talked, I played at Elmira College, and I talked to the coach, and I asked him, I said, hey coach, how many player profiles do you get in a week? And he said about 100. That's, there aren't that many teams. So you really got to be proactive here. And also keep in mind too that when we're talking about, Division I, Division III, junior hockey, prep school, walk-ons, and there aren't that many opportunities, where do these players go? Right? We have all these junior programs. These kids that don't make NCAA programs, where do they go? And the answer is the best kept secret in college hockey, and that is ACHA hockey, formerly known as club. It used to be called club because it was kind of, semi-organized. Now it's very organized and it's very competitive. Now ACHA is a sister to NCAA. It's not the same. Don't blow up the comments, but it is very, very competitive. And I did coach team, St. Joe's University in Philadelphia. I did coach a team for a couple of years, and again, coming from the NCAA world, I was shocked how good the hockey was. And it wasn't that because I was ignorant, I just wasn't exposed to it. I really had no idea. And I got there, and I was really impressed. Now, some of these Division I teams at the ACHA level are very competitive. And some of them, if you don't play junior or Tier 1 midgets, you won't make those teams. They actively recruit because it comes down to money. Some of these schools just don't want to pay all that ice time or can't pay it, so they go ACHA, but they still put the school resources. And the difference is that NCAA goes to the athletic department, and typically, most of the time, ACHA goes through the rec department. Okay. Now there are some schools that go through the ACHA that do go through the athletic department, but it's expensive. So there are some very competitive programs out there, and the bottom NCAA Division III do play sometimes ACHA Division I teams and lose. Now it does happen. I've seen it. So it's so please don't underestimate. And I would encourage everybody, if you do have an ACHA Division I or Division II program, to go check it out. Now the Division IIIs are a little bit looser. Maybe the helmets don't match on everybody, but when it comes to these ACHA Division Is and Twos, all matching equipment. I mean, it's really great. And just think about it too. There's nothing wrong with playing another 4 years of very competitive hockey for your school. You got your school colors on. You got your hockey house. It's pretty sweet. Okay, so I want to give you a quick story. I'm going to give you 2 stories here. So one of them is I had when I was at St. Joe's, I had a player who went to Curry College, which is NCAA Division III. We recruited. The coach told him he'd make the team. Coach told him he'd get ice time. Told him basically everything he wanted to hear. Got to campus, and remember, you're on campus for a month before you get to captain's practices. He found out that there were 15 players for 3 spots. Now, this kid had aged out of juniors. Juniors is 16 to 19 years old. All right. So, and the reason for that, and the system's a little unique. Hockey's the only one that has it. Is these coaches, NCAA coaches, want experienced and older players. So they want a 20-year-old freshman, especially if you're playing at a high-level junior A program and you're getting that extra experience. Okay. Now this player had gone to Curry, found out there's only 3 spots, 15 players on campus for a month, and he got cut. Okay, so he comes home and he played for me, and he had the time of his life. He loved it. He's a leader on the team. This is a big boy. He's 6'2", 220, had a bomb from the blue line. Great kid, ended up working out. So that's really, and then another one is I'll finish up with this. We want the kids to dream. Okay, if you're watching this video and you're a parent, you can't dream for your kid, but your kids can dream. We never know who's going to do what. We don't know. The kids develop at different rates. Now, one of my USAH hockey teammates, he played Bantam B and made an NCAA Division I team. Bantam B and made a D1 team, right? We just don't know. Kids develop at different rates. They mature at different rates. And when it all comes together, great things can happen. So we want to let the kids dream, but this video is designed more for adults to share the information. So we talked about the number of American players that make a team each year, and also total players. We talked about scholarships. We talked about recruiting, Junior A, and we talked about ACHA. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let me know. I'm trying to figure out if I want to keep doing these videos. Ideally, I don't have the software, but I like to record, maybe do some system analysis from NHL games or college games. I don't have the software, but if you see value in this, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. In the link below will be an Ask FM. It's a website where you can ask questions. I like that because it's keeps order of all the questions. You can leave a question in the comment section. And again, thank you very much for watching. All right, all right, all right.